I once helped my best friend get a job, but he secretly destroyed my chance just to take it for himself. Years later, karma made me his boss. That's how life paid him back without me lifting a finger. When I first met Daniel, we were just two young dreamers trying to build a life. We met in college, same dorm, same dreams, same hunger to make something of ourselves. We used to sit up all night talking about the future. We'd say, one day, we'll both work at a big company, side by side, making our families proud. Back then, Daniel wasn't just my friend, he was like my brother. We studied together, ate together, shared everything. If I had $2, one belonged to him. He used to tell me, "William, you're the only person I trust." I believed him. I shouldn't have. We both came from humble beginnings. No family connections, no special privileges, just dreams, discipline, and a bit of desperation. I remember us sitting in the campus cafeteria, talking about life after graduation. I told him, "I don't want to be rich, I just want to be respected." He smiled and said, "You'll get there. You work harder than anyone I know." He said it like he meant it, and maybe, at that time, he did. Months later, the opportunity we both dreamed of finally appeared. A top company, Harrison Global, announced they were hiring fresh graduates. It was big. The kind of job that could change your life overnight. Everyone wanted it. We both applied. I remember staying up with Daniel, helping him polish his resume. He wasn't great with writing, so I restructured it for him, fixed his grammar, built a strong story, even helped him craft his cover letter. When it came time to work on mine, he offered to help too. He said, "Let me review your documents, bro. You helped me, I should help you too." I smiled. Of course, that's what friends do. I didn't know that was the moment he decided to betray me. The interview date came. We both looked sharp, fresh suits, shining shoes, our hearts pounding with hope. He looked at me before we walked in and said, "May the best man win." I laughed, thinking he meant it as motivation. But there was something strange in his tone, a quiet challenge, not encouragement. I did my interview first. I thought it went well. I answered every question with confidence. The manager smiled and said, "We'll get back to you soon." When Daniel came out of his interview, he looked nervous but smiled anyway. "Man, I think I messed up," he said. I patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, we both did our best. Whatever happens, we're still brothers." He nodded, but he couldn't look me in the eyes. A week later, the results came out. Daniel got the job. I didn't. At first, I congratulated him. "Bro, you did it. I'm proud of you." He smiled but said nothing. Something in his eyes didn't look like happiness, it looked like guilt. But I ignored it. I told myself, maybe next time. Then, the rejection email hit me again. It said, "Your application contained inconsistencies in your attached files." I opened my backup documents, they were perfect. But when I checked the file I submitted, my resume had a corrupted section. The formatting was broken, key details missing. It looked like someone had edited and saved it wrong right before submission. That's when I remembered. Daniel was the last person to help me review it. I wanted to believe it was a mistake. But then, one night, a friend from the HR department texted me privately. "Hey William, off the record, your resume looked incomplete when it came in. The system marked it as unqualified. But Daniel's file looked strangely similar to yours, same structure, same wording, even your phrasing in some parts." My chest went cold. He had copied my work and destroyed my own version. That's how he got in. That's how he beat me. I sat in the dark that night, staring at my laptop screen, wondering how someone I called a brother could do this. My heart broke, not just because I lost the job, but because I lost my faith in friendship. Time passed, but the pain stayed. Daniel got busy at his new job. He stopped replying to my messages. The few times we spoke, he sounded distant, proud, even arrogant. He'd say things like, "You know, William, sometimes life chooses winners and losers." Each word felt like a knife. But I kept calm. I smiled. Because I promised myself something, I wouldn't let this break me. Everyone around me laughed. My parents said, "Maybe Daniel just works harder than you." Friends whispered, "He's successful now, and you're still struggling." I didn't try to defend myself. I just said, "We'll see." Because deep down I knew life never forgets. That's how my journey began. While Daniel climbed fast inside that company, I started from the bottom. Small jobs, customer service, freelance projects, anything to pay the bills and keep learning. Every time I felt tired, I remembered that betrayal. It wasn't pain anymore, it was fuel. Years went by. I learned leadership. I learned business. I learned how to speak, how to sell, how to lead people. While Daniel was chasing promotions, I was chasing growth. And slowly, without realizing it, I became someone new, someone unstoppable. At first, life after the rejection felt like walking through fog. Every morning I'd wake up and stare at my ceiling, wondering why good people lose. But somewhere deep inside, a small voice whispered, "This isn't your ending, it's your training." So I got up. I took a small job at a call center. It wasn't glamorous, but it taught me patience. People yelled at me every day, but I learned how to calm storms with words. Then I worked at a small logistics firm, long hours, low pay, but I absorbed everything. I became obsessed with learning management, communication, marketing, leadership. While others went out drinking after work, I stayed behind reading and practicing. I didn't tell anyone, but every night before sleeping, I looked at a photo of that company's logo, Harrison Global. And I whispered to myself, one day, I'll walk back through those doors not as an applicant, but as someone they'll need. Years moved quietly. Daniel rarely called, but I heard stories. He was doing well at first, promotions, praise, company trips. On social media, he looked perfect. Expensive suits, confident smile, the life I once dreamed of. But the higher he climbed, the less real his smile looked. I kept my distance. Sometimes people asked, "Don't you hate him?" And I'd answer, "I thank him. He gave me a reason to grow." Pain turned into discipline. Bitterness turned into strategy. Revenge turned into patience. One evening, 3 years after the betrayal, I was invited to speak at a local seminar on personal growth. It was my first real recognition. After the talk, a man in a navy suit approached me. He said, "You've got leadership written all over you. Have you ever considered managing a team?" I smiled. That's all I've ever wanted. He handed me his card. He was a director at Harrison Global. Karma had started knocking. The next few weeks felt unreal. He arranged an interview for me, not for an entry-level role this time, but for department manager. My hands shook as I signed the invitation letter. I thought about Daniel. Would he even remember me? Would he recognize the man he betrayed? The night before the interview, I stood in front of my mirror. No longer the naive graduate he tricked. Now I wore confidence like armor. I whispered to my reflection, "This time, you're not walking in to impress them. You're walking in to claim what's yours." The interview panel was intense, senior executives, tough questions, long silences. But I was ready. Every lesson from those years of struggle became a weapon. When they asked about leadership, I spoke about empathy. When they asked about setbacks, I told them about growth. I didn't mention Daniel. I didn't need to. My scars already spoke for me. When it ended, the director smiled and said, "We'll be in touch very soon, Mr. Anderson." 2 weeks later, I got the email that changed everything. "Congratulations. You've been selected as department manager at Harrison Global. Welcome aboard." I sat in silence for a long time. Not excitement. Not relief. Just gratitude to life, to time, to karma. The first day I walked into the company headquarters felt like déjà vu. Same building. Same corridors. Different man. The receptionist greeted me, "Good morning, Manager William." Those words hit deep. Manager William. The same company that once rejected me because of a sabotaged file now trusted me to lead an entire department. As I entered the office area, I scanned the faces, new employees, some familiar ones. And then, at the far desk near the window, I saw him. Daniel. His hair was shorter now, but I'd recognize that posture anywhere. He was typing nervously, unaware of who just walked in. For a moment, I just watched him. It wasn't anger, I felt it was calm satisfaction, the kind that comes when justice doesn't need witnesses. The HR officer walked beside me, explaining procedures. She stopped near Daniel's desk. "Mr. Anderson, This is Daniel Cole. He'll be one of your team members. Daniel looked up, ready to greet, and froze. Our eyes met. His smile died halfway. The color drained from his face. I extended my hand. Good to see you again, Daniel. My voice was steady, almost gentle. He hesitated, then shook my hand cold and trembling. W. William? I didn't know, I smiled. Don't worry. Life's full of surprises. The HR officer didn't notice the storm between us. She just kept talking while Daniel stood there, trapped in silence. Inside his eyes, I saw it: guilt, fear, and something else: regret. That night, he probably couldn't sleep. Because the universe had flipped the board. The man he betrayed now signed his performance reviews. But I didn't humiliate him. I treated him like everyone else, fair but firm. And that's what tortured him the most. Every meeting, every presentation, he felt my presence. Every time he stumbled, he looked at me, expecting mockery, but I offered none. Instead, I said, "We all make mistakes. Learn and move on." He nodded, unable to meet my eyes. Karma was doing its job quietly, precisely. As weeks passed, the department started to change under my leadership. Productivity rose. Clients returned. The directors were impressed. And Daniel? He kept shrinking, losing confidence. Not because I punished him, because he punished himself. One afternoon, after a major project review, I called him into my office. He looked terrified. "Relax," I said, "you're not in trouble." He sat down, avoiding eye contact. I said calmly, "You're talented, Daniel. But you seem distracted. Is everything all right?" He swallowed hard. "Sir, I don't know what to say. You have every reason to hate me." I leaned back. "Why would I hate you?" His voice cracked. "Because of what I did. Years ago." Silence filled the room. Only the hum of the air conditioner between us. He looked up, eyes wet. "I was jealous. I changed your file. I wanted that job so badly, and you trusted me." His words trembled. "I ruined our friendship." I let him speak. I didn't interrupt. When he finished, I said quietly, "You didn't ruin my life, Daniel. You redirected it." He looked confused. "What do you mean?" "If you hadn't betrayed me, I'd probably still be the same naive guy, chasing comfort instead of growth. Pain made me stronger. You made me stronger." He stared at me, stunned. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I know," I said, "and I forgive you. But remember, life always keeps receipts." He nodded, tears forming. And for the first time in years, I saw the old Daniel, the friend I once had. From that day, he changed. He worked harder, respected people more, stayed humble. It wasn't fear anymore, it was awareness. He'd learned what greed costs. And I finally felt free. Because true revenge isn't making someone suffer, it's making them see. After that day, something shifted in the office. Daniel stopped avoiding me. He greeted me every morning, quietly, respectfully. The tension that used to hang between us faded into something new: peace. And though he never forgo. What happened, he started working like a man trying to rebuild his soul. I noticed it. His work improved. His attitude changed. He helped others, stayed late, stopped cutting corners. It wasn't the same man who once sabotaged me. It was a man who'd seen himself fall and was now trying to climb back up. Sometimes, during lunch breaks, I'd watch him from across the cafeteria. He'd sit alone, lost in thought. And I'd remember the old days, the two of us laughing, planning, dreaming. Part of me wanted to walk up and sit with him again. But I didn't. Some distances, life creates for a reason. Months passed. The department continued to thrive. Under my management, we became one of the most efficient teams in the company. The directors began inviting me to strategy meetings. Decisions that once felt unreachable were now in my hands. But success didn't make me proud. It made me quiet. Because every time I sat in that boardroom, I remembered the version of myself that used to beg for a chance. I remembered the humiliation, the laughter, the long nights of doubt. And I realized something. If I had gotten that first job, I wouldn't have learned resilience. I wouldn't have built patience. I wouldn't have become a leader. One rainy evening, I stayed back in the office, finishing reports. Most people had gone home. The sound of rain tapped softly against the windows. Then, there was a knock on my door. "Come in," I said. Daniel stepped inside. He looked tired but peaceful. He said, "Sir, can I talk to you for a minute?" "Of course," I said, setting my pen down. He stood there for a few seconds, searching for words. Then he said, "I wanted to thank you." I raised an eyebrow. "For what?" "For not destroying me." He took a deep breath. "When you became my boss, I thought you'd humiliate me. I thought you'd make me pay. But instead, you treated me better than I deserved. You showed me what real strength looks like. I've been carrying this guilt for years, and your kindness made me face it. Thank you." His voice cracked as he spoke. I didn't interrupt. I let him say everything he needed to say. When he finished, I said quietly, "Daniel, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the weight. What you did was wrong. But what you do next, that's what matters now." He nodded slowly. Tears welled up in his eyes. He said, "I've applied for a transfer to another branch. I want to start over somewhere new." I smiled faintly. "Then go. And make it count this time." He extended his hand. I stood, shook it firmly and said, "Good luck, Daniel. I hope life treats you with the honesty you once denied it." He smiled weakly. "It already has." Then he walked out quietly, humbly leaving behind the ghost of the man he once was. After he left, I sat alone for a long time, listening to the rain. A strange calm washed over me. It wasn't triumph. It wasn't victory. It was peace. Because I finally understood that karma doesn't need noise. It doesn't need revenge plans or anger. It just needs time and truth. And when the right time comes, truth always wins. A year later, Harrison Global promoted me again, this time to Regional Operations Director. The company that once rejected me now depended on me. And every success I achieved carried a quiet reminder: never let betrayal turn your heart bitter. Let it turn you better. One day, I got a letter in the mail. No name on the envelope. Just a simple note inside that read, "Dear William, I've rebuilt my life. I've started a small business. I mentor young graduates now, and I always tell them, never take shortcuts because shortcuts only cut your future short. Thank you for not giving up on life when I gave up on you. Daniel." I smiled as I read it. I folded the letter neatly and placed it in my desk drawer, next to my old rejection email, the one that once broke me. 2 pieces of paper. One from the past that tried to end me, and one from the same past that finally found peace. That's when I realized, sometimes, life brings people back into your story not to hurt you but to show you how much you've grown since they left. Now, whenever I speak at leadership conferences or mentor young people, I always tell this story. Not to brag. Not to shame anyone. But to remind them that revenge doesn't make you strong, growth does. You don't need to get even. You just need to get better. Because sooner or later, the same people who doubted you will see what patience can build. And when they do, you won't even feel anger anymore, just gratitude that you didn't let their darkness dim your light. I once helped my best friend get a job. He betrayed me. But karma didn't forget. It brought us face to face, not as enemies, but as lessons to each other. He learned guilt. I learned grace. And in the end, both of us walked away free. You don't always need revenge. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is let karma do the talking.